Do me a favor, just turn around. We do have to cuff you up. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back.
Any chance that you're pregnant?
No.
An Ohio woman is detained by U.S. Marshals after an 8-month-old boy is found dead.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Melanie, take a deep breath.
The village of East Canton filed a civil complaint on March 20th, seeking to permanently shut down a daycare operation run by 45-year-old Melanie Demarzio. The document alleges, quote, officers learned that defendant Melanie Demarzio did not have appropriate supervision or sleeping arrangements for infants and toddlers at the property. Defendant Melanie Demarzio did not have current CPR certification or any other medical training. Defendant Melanie Demarzio further acknowledged that she did not utilize any baby monitors or cameras at the property to monitor children who were housed in different areas of the property. An 8-month-old boy named Grant Simmons died in that house on March 10th. And the woman responsible for his care, the woman who was watching him while his mother went to work, is now facing felony charges. But this is not a story about a tragic accident. This is a story about a system that failed to protect the most vulnerable members of our society, and a caregiver who turned her home into a warehouse for children with no plan, no training, and no accountability. And the question that haunts this case is not just how Grant Simmons died, but how many more children were put at risk before anyone noticed. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Endless Cryme, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. On March 10th, at 1:39 in the afternoon, an officer with the East Canton Police Department responded to a home to assist paramedics with a medical emergency. The emergency involved an 8-month-old boy who had stopped breathing.
I'm gonna jump right into it here. So all of this begins on March 10th of this year. It is 1:39 in the afternoon when an officer with the East Canton Police Department responds to a home to help paramedics with a medical emergency. And this medical emergency involves an 8-month-old boy, and his name was Grant Simmons. When the officer arrives, medics were already on their way to the hospital. So the responding officer talked to a woman who was still present at the home. It's a 45-year-old woman. Her name is Melanie Demarzio. According to the incident report, Demarzio pointed the officer in the direction of Simmons' mom, who is also still at the home. The officer and the patient's mom then go to the hospital. Now, as emergency staff attempted to revive the 8-month-old boy, the officer spoke with his mom. Quote, she advised that she dropped off her son to the babysitter earlier in the morning when the babysitter later contacted her by phone, stating that the child was not breathing. She stated that she spoke to her by phone at approximately 1:20 p.m. She stated that she had no indication of what could have happened to the child. A nurse came into the hallway and assisted.
When the officer arrived, medics were already transporting the child to the hospital. The officer spoke with Demarzio, who was still at the home, and then with the child's mother, who had been called to the scene. The mother told police she had dropped her son off at the babysitter's home earlier that morning. She said she received a phone call at approximately 1:20 p.m. from the babysitter, stating that the child was not breathing. She had no indication of what could have caused this. A short time later, a nurse came into the hallway and assisted the mother into the room where the child was pronounced deceased. Grant Simmons was gone. He was 8 months old. He was just beginning his life. The police report reveals a staggering series of failures.
Now, when police interviewed Demarzio, she allegedly had difficulty recalling how many children she babysat on a day-to-day basis, but she reportedly said she has between 5 and 10 children that she babysits at the property in exchange for $45 per day paid in cash. The civil complaint also laid out the following allegations. Quote, officers learned that defendant Melanie Demarzio did not have appropriate supervision or sleeping arrangements for infants and toddlers at the property. Defendant Melanie Demarzio indicated she would either prepare food for children at the property or otherwise give children food provided by parents. Defendant Melanie Demarzio did not have current CPR certification or any other medical training. It did not have any formal protocol for administering medications such as Tylenol, eye drops, or amoxicillin, but informed officers she would follow any instructions given to her by parents. Defendant Melanie Demarzio admitted that she had no emergency plan in place for former protocol in the event of a fire or other emergency at the property. Defendant Melanie Demarzio further acknowledged that she did not utilize any baby monitors or cameras at the property to monitor children who were housed in different areas of the property. On the date that Grant Simmons unfortunately passed away, defendants had at least 5 children staying at the property, including him 2 children who are 23 months old, a 1-year-old child, a 3-year-old child, and a 4-year-old child. For one of the children, who was 1-year-old defendant Melanie Demarzio.
In Demarzio's operation, she was running what she called a daycare, but in reality, it was an unlicensed, unregulated chaos. When officers interviewed Demarzio, she allegedly had difficulty recalling how many children she babysat on a day-to-day basis. She said she had between 5 and 10 children that she babysits at the property in exchange for $45 per day, paid in cash. She told police she would either prepare food for children at the property or give them food provided by parents. She did not have current CPR certification or any other medical training. She had no formal protocol for administering medications, such as Tylenol eye drops or amoxicillin, but she told officers she would follow any instructions given to her by parents. She admitted that she had no emergency plan in place for a fire or any other emergency at the property. She had no baby monitors or cameras to watch children who were housed in different areas of the property. On the day Grant Simmons died, she had at least 5 children in her care, including 2 who were 23 months old, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And for one of the children, she did not even know the child's last name. A license is not a luxury, it is a shield. And this woman had no shield because she had no license, and the system never checked. The civil complaint filed by the village of East Canton paints a picture of a woman who was not just negligent, but who is fundamentally unfit to care for children. The lawsuit accuses Demarzio of providing childcare services to several infants and toddlers without obtaining the required conditional zoning certificate to operate within her home. It alleges that she exceeded Ohio's limits on the number of children under the age of 2. It alleges that she had no formal protocols for administering medications, no emergency plans, and no supervision arrangements. The complaint is a damning indictment of a system that allowed this to happen. The same day the lawsuit was filed,
As a result of these allegations, the civil complaint seeks to shut down Demarzio's daycare for good, in addition to monetary damages. The same day the lawsuit was filed, a temporary restraining order was placed on the daycare, meaning it needed to cease operations immediately pending a further hearing. That order was converted into a preliminary injunction on March 31st, so the daycare will no longer be able to operate as the lawsuit moves through the legal process. As for this civil matter, a final pretrial hearing is scheduled for
a temporary restraining order was placed on the daycare, meaning it needed to cease operations immediately pending a further hearing. That order was converted into a preliminary injunction on March 31st. The daycare will no longer be able to operate as the lawsuit moves through the legal process, but here is the most chilling part of this entire story. After Grant Simmons died in her care, Melanie Demarzio planned to reopen her daycare. She planned to reopen just 13 days after an infant died in her home. The civil complaint was filed on March 20th after the city learned that she was planning to reopen on March 23rd. She was going to take on more children. She was going to continue her operation as if nothing had happened. And this raises a question that cuts to the core of this case. How many more children would have died if the city had not intervened? A license is not a luxury. It is a shield. And Demarzio was willing to leave that shield off again and again. On July 16th, Demarzio was indicted by a grand jury.
And Demarzio is indicted by a grand jury on a felony first-degree charge of involuntary manslaughter, a third-degree felony charge of endangering children, and another third-degree felony charge of involuntary manslaughter. If convicted on all counts, she could face more than 20 years in prison and over $40,000 in fines. So we're going to get to the moment Demarzio is arrested, which was on July 21st by the East Canton Police Department with assistance from the U.S. Marshals, 5 days after she was indicted.
On a felony first-degree charge of involuntary manslaughter, a third-degree felony charge of endangering children, and another third-degree felony charge of involuntary manslaughter. If convicted on all counts, she could face more than 20 years in prison and over $40,000 in fines. On July 21st, she was arrested by the East Canton Police Department with assistance from the U.S. Marshals. The body cam footage captured her breakdown.
Come out, we'll get her down there, get her booked, and then give me a call. Back door, come on.
This is one, I understand your job.
Right.
But this is a woman that's about ready to have another.
We'll get her taken care of.
You're a very good appearance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've been here before.
All right.
I don't have to
You want to leave all your children here, so that way you don't gotta put it in your property. Just leave it all here.
What you say? You'll call.
Yeah,
She'll get the call. She's going to get booked, and then she'll probably see the judge, and she'll be able to give you guys a call.
she'll get booked in, and then she'll get a free phone call when she's just put in the hold. They need cut off. Okay, they can cut them off there. They have equipment to do it.
breath. It's just a warning. I can't go anywhere until she called me.
What?
You guys transporting me want us to?
Step on down here. Take a deep breath.
We can.
Don't fall. Do me a favor. Just turn around. We do have to cuff you up. Go ahead and put your hands behind your
Any
back.
chance that you're pregnant?
No.
Okay.
No. My.
Just relax. Palms together. Make your praying. There you go.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Melanie, take a deep breath. Hey, Aaron. Or actually, you can do it. Hey, Aaron, you can break down. You want to give her a pat down?
My.
One step forward.
Don't fall backwards. She hyperventilated. She cried out. She was visibly distraught, but her tears were not for the child who died. They were for herself. She was facing the consequences of her actions, and she could not handle it. The footage shows officers telling her to breathe, telling her to calm down, telling her to relax. But there was no relaxing. There was no breathing. There was only the stark reality of a woman who had been caught, who was being held accountable for her negligence. The medical examiner's office has not yet released a definitive cause of death. The autopsy and toxicology reports are pending, but the lack of a specific cause of death does not absolve Demarzio of responsibility. The negligence is clear. She did not have CPR certification. She did not have an emergency plan. She did not have baby monitors. She had too many children in her care, and she did not even know the last names of some of them. She was running a business, a warehousing operation for children, and she had no idea what she was doing. And this leads to a question that should keep every parent awake at night. When we leave our children in someone else's care, how do we know that the person watching them is competent, is trained, is safe? The answer is that, in many cases, we do not, and the system is failing to protect us. The civil case against Demarzio is scheduled for a final pre-trial hearing on November 12th of this year, with a civil trial slated for December 28th. The criminal case is moving forward with a pre-trial hearing scheduled for August 19th. But these dates are just procedural markers. They are the machinery of justice grinding slowly forward. The real question is why this was allowed to happen in the first place. Why was an unlicensed daycare allowed to operate with impunity? Why was a woman with no training, no certification, and no emergency plan allowed to take care of children for money? Why did the system fail to protect Grant Simmons? These are not rhetorical questions. They are questions that demand answers. The obituary for Grant Simmons described him.
Retired NYPD Detective David Sarney. I do want to share a little bit more about the life of the person whose life was just beginning. The person at the center of this case. 8-month-old Grant Simmons. And this was taken from his obituary. Quote, "Though Grant's time here was not nearly long enough, he touched the lives of all those who were lucky enough to know him. Grant was full of life and was always smiling. He enjoyed Coco Melon and his toy excavator. He will always..."
As a child who was full of life and was always smiling, he enjoyed Coco Melon and his toy excavator. He was his mommy's little stink. He was an 8-month-old boy who should have had a lifetime ahead of him. Instead, he died in a house where he was not being properly supervised, where the woman who was supposed to protect him had no idea what she was doing. And the tragedy is that this is not an isolated incident. Across the country, there are thousands of unlicensed daycares.
The only time we find out about these daycare centers being unlicensed is when a tragedy like this happens. And to have an 8-month-old die in their custody, and families, and again, I talk always about the legal side and the police side of it, but there's a social side to this where if you have nowhere else to go and it's such a cheap, affordable daycare, you let a lot of things slide as a family or as a parent. You really can't, because you're leaving them in the custody and care of that person for how many hours? And $45 a day is relatively cheap, but to what cost is it for you when something like this happens? And, I can't imagine how the parents are when your 8-month-old dies in this place.
Yeah, I mean, look, this isn't a parenting, podcast, but like the idea, like daycare is just unaffordable. Like licensed daycares is unaffordable for so many people. And like you look at this story and you have a mom that drops off her son and she goes to work. This isn't someone who's just like going off on their own or whatever. Like she is out there grinding. And you think of like the options to watch your child. There's not a lot out there that you can afford. I mean, it's thousands of dollars a month, typically, daycares. And so like $45 a day, there's that option. And
operating in the shadows. They are cheap. They are condiedly. The irony of this case is that Demarzio was cheap. $45 a day is affordable. For a mother who is working, who is grinding, who is trying to make ends meet, that kind of childcare is a lifeline. But it is also a trap. When childcare is unaffordable, parents are forced to make difficult choices. They choose the affordable option. They choose the person who is available, who is willing to watch their children for a reasonable price. They do not ask about CPR certification. They do not ask about emergency plans. They do not ask about licensing. They assume that the person is competent. They assume that their children will be safe. But the assumption is wrong. A license is not a luxury. It is a shield. And when the shield is gone, the children are unprotected. This case is a symptom of a broken system. The system is broken because childcare is unaffordable. The system is broken because licensing is difficult and expensive. The system is broken because there is no oversight, no enforcement, no accountability. And the result is that children die. Grant Simmons died because the system failed him. He died because the woman who was supposed to protect him was not qualified to do so. He died because his mother was forced to make a choice between work and safety, and she chose work because she had no other option. And now she has to live with that choice forever. The documents in this case are public. The civil complaint, the police report, the court filings, they are all available for anyone to see. They are a record of the failures, the negligence, the devastating consequences of a system that prioritizes profit over safety, convenience over accountability. And the question that remains is this: what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do to protect children from caregivers who are not qualified to care for them? What are we going to do to ensure that no more children die in unlicensed daycares? The answer is that we must demand better. We must demand accountability. We must demand that the system protect the most vulnerable among us. The evidence is clear. The system is broken. And the question is not whether we will fix it, but when. Thank you for watching Endless Cryme. If this story has made you think, if it has made you question the system, then we have done our job. We follow the evidence. We ask the hard questions. We do not just cover the story, we try to understand it, and we try to prevent it from happening again. If you found this analysis valuable, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Endless Cryme. We will continue to follow this case and others like it. We will continue to ask the questions that need to be asked, and we will continue to demand accountability, not just from the perpetrators, but from the system that failed to protect these children. The evidence is clear. The verdict is in, and the question remains: what are we going to do about it?